In a city where whispers held more power than shouts, justice didn't arrive with sirens. It arrived quietly, on stilettos, under stormy skies. Viridia's courthouse loomed in the morning mist like a monument to forgotten promises. Its steps, usually buzzing with hurried lawyers and stressed defendants, were hushed, almost reverent. That was the kind of stillness that preceded something seismic. And then she arrived, Serafina Vance. Her name was already legend in legal circles, a woman who dismantled corruption not with noise, but with precision. Clad in a slate-gray suit that whispered wealth without screaming it, she moved with the ease of someone who knew the game and the rules, and had rewritten most of them, in her hand, a worn leather briefcase. No entourage, no theatrics, just a woman forged in fire. But power rarely passes unchallenged at the courthouse entrance. Officer Leland Thorne waited like a rusted gatekeeper. Late 50s, muscles gone to gristle. His badge gleamed brighter than his conscience. Years of unchecked authority clung to him like sweat. He spotted Serafina and straightened, though the sneer on his face never faded. "Step out of line, ma'am," he barked, loud enough for the guards nearby to glance up, then quickly away. Serafina paused. Her voice, when it came, was silk wrapped around steel. "Is there a reason?" "No visible ID. Court policy." Without a word, she slipped her hand into her jacket and pulled out a federal identification card. She extended it with 2 fingers, her gaze unreadable. Leland took it, snatched it, rather, without so much as a glance. Then, in an act so casual it bordered on theatrical, he stuffed it into his pocket. "I would like that returned," she said evenly. He smiled, slow and mean. "In a hurry, sweetheart." The word hit the air like a slap. Behind them, a young officer, a woman barely out of training, winced. She shifted uncomfortably, caught between hierarchy and conscience. Serafina didn't rise to the bait. "I have a hearing in courtroom 6. Then you'll follow my protocol." Random search. The phrase felt like a trap. She could have argued. Instead, she studied him, eyes narrowing slightly. "I see." She followed him, not because she had to, but because she wanted to see the rod up close. Down a dim hallway they walked, past flickering lights and peeling paint. At the end, a narrow door creaked open into a claustrophobic room. A single metal chair, a table, and the stale stench of silence. "No cameras," she noted. "No distractions," he replied. "This isn't legal." He didn't answer. He just pointed to the chair. When she didn't comply, his hand shot out. Rough fingers yanked her hair back with sudden violence. Her head snapped, but her expression didn't break. "You just made a mistake," she said softly. Eyes blazing, Leland leaned in, lips curled. "You people always think you're untouchable." She stared into him, not blinking. "And men like you always think no one's watching." He laughed and tossed her ID onto the table. "You're free to go. Courtroom 6 is that way." Serafina adjusted her hair, retrieved her ID, and walked out, slowly, deliberately. If Leland had even a flicker of instinct left, he would have felt the shift in the air. He had not humiliated her. He had awakened her. And Serafina Vance, when awakened, did not retreat. She transformed in courtroom 6. Murmurs filled the room. The prosecutor whispered to his assistant. The defense lawyer tapped nervously at his notes. A judge had yet to arrive, but all felt the weight of something coming. Then came the sound, not loud, but unmistakable, the rhythmic, deliberate click of heels down the corridor. Each step closer, like the ticking of a fuse. The rookie officer near the bench stiffened. She knew that walk now. The doors creaked open. Everyone turned. The prosecutor dropped his pen. The public defender blinked twice. Even the defendant, an older man with tear-streaked cheeks, sat up straighter. Because the woman entering wasn't just a judge, she was justice incarnate. But something was different. Her posture was the same, but there was a chill now, a stillness that spoke of storms to come. Serafina moved to the bench without acknowledging a soul. Her eyes scanned the courtroom, sharp and calculating. She reached into her briefcase, not for papers, but for a small recorder. She placed it on the bench beside her gavel, her expression unreadable. "Court is now in session," she announced, her voice slicing through the room. The court clerk stood, confused. "But, Your Honor, this isn't your case. Judge Halberd won't be presiding today," she said simply. The bailiff stepped forward, uncertain. "Ma'am, you'll sit. You'll listen." She leaned forward, the corners of her mouth curving ever so slightly. "Because what's about to be revealed concerns every soul in this building." The courtroom fell into stunned silence, and just as the gavel hovered in her hand, ready to fall, the side door creaked open behind her. Someone was coming, someone she had been expecting, and everything was about to change. Serafina Vance entered the courtroom, not in her judicial robe, but in the same slate-gray suit that had already made a statement hours earlier. Her presence shifted the energy in the room. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Papers froze in midair. Even those who didn't know who she was instinctively sat straighter. She didn't look left or right. She simply walked to the bench, climbed the steps with calm authority, and sat down. The silence was reverent. Even the hum of the fluorescent lights seemed to hush in her presence. "Is today's docket prepared?" she asked, her voice unwavering. "Yes, Your Honor," the clerk replied, clearly rattled but trying to maintain composure. Serafina adjusted the microphone. "Then call Officer Leland Thorne to the stand." The courtroom froze. Whispers rose like smoke before vanishing under the weight of confusion and shock. From a side door, Officer Thorne entered. His usual swagger was absent. He looked like a man walking towards something he couldn't see, but already feared. Gone was the arrogance, replaced with a flickering unease. "State your full name and your position in this courthouse," Serafina said coolly. "Leland Thorne. Court officer. 14 years. Serafina leaned forward, her fingers steepled. "How many times in your career have you conducted a random search on a federal judge?" Leland hesitated. "None. Except today." "And under what grounds did you do so?" He fumbled for words, but Serafina didn't wait. "You didn't follow protocol. You didn't check credentials. You abused your position." Two court officers moved from the back, silent and swift. They stepped beside Leland. Before he could react, the cold click of handcuffs echoed across the room. Gasps rippled through the audience. The defense attorney sat frozen. Even the prosecutor was silent. "This is not about one incident," Serafina continued, her tone sharpened by purpose. She opened her briefcase and withdrew a thick file. "This contains 27 written complaints from women, black women," she stated. "Interns, administrative assistants, maintenance workers, all subjected to humiliation, verbal abuse, and physical intimidation. All silenced." She flipped to one internal memo. Quote, "Thorne is aggressive but efficient. Do not escalate unless media becomes involved." That was the system's answer. She paused, letting the weight of the words settle. "But I am the media now." She turned to the clerk and handed over a new document. "This is the Vance directive. Starting today, all officers and court personnel in this district will undergo quarterly audits. Mandatory unconscious bias training. Any future acts of discrimination will result in immediate suspension and federal review." A hush fell over the room, not from fear, but from realization. Serafina rose from the bench, standing tall before the court. "I don't raise my voice. I don't throw punches. I walk in rooms where I was never invited and make them mine. Because justice doesn't need to shout. It only needs to be heard." Outside the courthouse, a quiet crowd had gathered. No chants, no noise, just people watching, waiting. When Serafina stepped out onto the stone steps, this time in full judicial robes, the crowd didn't cheer. They stood because they understood justice had finally arrived, and this time it looked like